Hello, everyone. I hope you are well today. Today, I'm glad to be here, and we will start our seventh episode of our Q&A webinar live. That we are doing this to help you. In these last weeks, we are working on getting a really clean setup for you about the onboarding phase. So I know that everyone is a little bit concerned about a new habit, using a new software.
Hello, everyone. I hope
And
you are
here
well
we,
today.
we are here to simplify this a little bit and to, as we are saying, that we want to short this distance between our team and you. So yes, today we will talk about our pricing. And I know that's a really big step in our onboarding, but we are here to simplify this to you, okay? So today we are focused on of the most important steps on the onboarding process, that is the coding pricing database. So we will try to explain a little bit about how it works and how is the best practice to do this. And we will today we will receive a help from Arthur. Hello, Arthur. How are you doing?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. It's been pretty good. I'm actually in Brazil at the moment, in
Cool.
our Brazilian office here with the other guys. So there might be some noise in the background tonight with lots of meetings and things happening. But I trust you're going to be doing this in a good way. And as you mentioned, Renato, I think it's one of the most important parts of the onboarding process. It's not the first part to start,
Yep.
but once you have your pricing, you can start, quoting confidently and finalize the transition, which is very common. Most of our customers, they're existing shared businesses. And then when they transition to Shedmate, when they finalize that pricing, that's generally the point that they say, yep, let's leave what we're doing behind and let's focus 100% on Shedmate. So the transition is generally kind of over. And we're going to show you, the good way to do it from experience, onboarding customers all over Australia and New Zealand, what worked in the past, what didn't, and kind of our gut feeling about, if I were to do it again in another shed business, like I had the shed business before, how I would do it in Shedmate at the current stage, because Shedmate has evolved a lot. So if for any reason you joined Shedmate like 3 years ago, for example, look, it's totally different now. So you're gonna have a totally different experience. So if you're here, just listen and watch until the end, and I'm sure you're gonna get some, good feedback out of it.
Yeah, and just to comment some challenges that we heard for our customers.
Mhm.
It's I wrote down some here that's underquoted jobs. That's something that's really tricky. We have missing components on the quoting, on the
Yep.
estimation, incorrect material quantities, slow quote turnaround times, and I believe that the most important is that rely rely just in a spreadsheet, that someone in the past
Yes.
built this, and it, like the new teammates is just learning what was did what was yeah what did
Yeah, what they
what
did
happened,
before. Yep.
yeah, in the past,
Mhm.
and they don't understand, just follow the rules that the company follows every time. So I believe that this Shedmate can understand what Shedmate is calculating from behind. Oh, and the components are really easy to understand. So yeah, you can comment about more about
Yes.
this, and we can
Yeah.
start from there.
Absolutely. I'll summarize a quote from Andrew Golding. I remember I had
Yep.
recorded an interview with him from Blackbird, and he said, we have doubled our shed sales, and I wouldn't trust doing that if it wasn't for Shedmate, because Shedmate gives you that peace of mind that we have a process. I've invested the time, I built that engine, and that engine works, no matter if it's that salesperson who is very good with Excel or the other salesperson who is just trying to, push codes out there. It's going to unify their work. And as you mentioned, there are lots of problems that happen because of the fundamentals of how the data is structured in shared businesses. Most shared businesses in Australia, they're very traditional, right? So it's like a father who created a business like 30 years ago. And then they, at the time, Excel obviously, especially those who build like a VBA or some coding on top of Excel, it became kind of the best practice out there for cost engineering. And they built this very good Excel spreadsheets that worked for a long time. However, something new happened. It's not new, but that in this industry, we started implementing something called Build Information Modeling, right? The BIM. And what BIM is pretty much like when you unify a 3D geometry. That's not only like geometry in terms of the numbers are there, but also it includes information about it. So, for example, if we have like a C-frame column, we not only now with a 3D system like Shedmate, a BIM system, we not only now have the length of that column, but we also have property such as the weight of that column, the inertia moment, like becoming more complex in terms of engineering analysis. And as you design your shed in Shedmate, all of the geometry and data is being updated in real time. And that's what creates information that feeds that system. And then the outcome is much better than an Excel spreadsheet. And most companies still rely on Excel spreadsheets, specifically if they're on the structural steel side of things. And by the way, Shedmate and this live here works for code formed and also for structural steel. If you're doing web trusses, universal beams, galvanizing, it's the same principle in our pricing. So the spreadsheets, they have lots of challenges. So first, it's not as intuitive as a system like Shedmate, but anyone opens and can see what's out there. And it's generally created by someone who was there 20 years ago, and that kept being updated, but it gets to a point where it's too hard to maintain it. And then when that person leaves or they step out, it's very hard for people to kind of continue building on top of it and create scalability for their business. And that's when the dependency on the founder stays. So we always need that person to quote, that this person to review everything, because that's the person who understands about the Excel spreadsheet. And then you mentioned other good points as well. For example, the underquoted jobs, specifically missing components. You're going to see today that Shedmate has a way to alert you if there's anything missing in terms of the physical components of your shed, which avoids a lot of mistakes. In my previous shed business, you might remember that, Nato, I think you were working with me back then. There was a shed we delivered, and there was an error in an Excel spreadsheet that we just pretty much forgot to add the installation.
Yeah.
And that cost about, I think it was $4,000 out of our pocket that we had to pay, because we sent the quote to the customer, the customer signed the contract, and then only like 1 month later we realized that we thought that installation was included in the quote, but there was an error on the Excel spreadsheet or whatever, that there was a formula mistake there that prevented that installation being quoted, and that created like a $4,000 job loss, which is a big impact. And considering the low profitability of the standard shed kits out there, that can damage your business a lot, because it's a lot of money. Not to mention the other things, as you mentioned, like incorrect material quantities, the complexity of the shed design. So, for example, when you are adding a roller door, there are new like roller door studs that are added. There are some like spacing that changes in the shed, and you cannot do that in Excel. It becomes very complex to do all of that, fine tuning in Excel. So as an outcome, your Excel is never going to be as accurate as a BIM model like Shedmate that integrates your pricing, engineering, and design in real time. So these are just a few comments in what you mentioned. And obviously these low quote turnaround times. I think that's one of the biggest ones to block is scalability. And I have that conversation with many builders all over Australia and New Zealand. It's like, hey, I have a competitor, they're quoting in real time, and I am actually, like waiting like 1 week sometimes to actually deliver a quote. And if you're actually a customer and you're waiting a week while the competitor is giving you real-time pricing, advice, they're leaving the first meeting, site plans, architectural plans, which is the case for Shedmate customers, then who are you going to feel more kind of understood by? Who are you going to feel more confident in terms of moving forward and the professionalism of their business? So I believe we're pressing through this transition in the market where we had these traditional firms and companies, but now we're getting to a point where the automation and professionalism is becoming more important than ever. And if you're just doing Excel spreadsheets, especially with artificial intelligence and everything that's happening, I believe that very soon companies that are not advancing, not upgrading their stack, they're gonna have problems because their
Yeah.
competitors are gonna be much faster than them. Okay?
Yeah.
Is it making sense so far? These comments?
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah. And yeah, I think you also mentioned about inconsistent pricing between team members. That's also another one.
Yeah.
A lot of quoting is subjective, right? They're creating a quote and they start putting those subjective, values or things that okay, how do you
Roundings.
quantify something? Yeah. How do you quantify this? Like, oh, it's on my mind. It's sometimes you think, yeah, I think that's gonna do it, and I put like $35 per square meter. So sometimes it's subjective. It's
Yeah.
very archaic to
Yeah.
say. And if you put someone else to quote, you can have a different pricing. And then if you have like five salespeople, that becomes a bottleneck because if they're not following the same process,
Yeah.
yeah, your company's gonna have problems as well. And comes back to that dependency on the founder. Everyone's gonna go back to the founder and say, hey, what's the rates for installation labor or for the roof cladding labor. And sometimes they'll have this, but sometimes they won't have it. And the disorganization is also something else that will affect their profitability because all of that back and forth, all of that, delay to get those quotes out there. And this is what we change with a system like Shedmate, in which you can build the engine instead of just processing quotes. You can build that engine that's going to work for you through automation by linking with that 3D BIM model. So you can quote projects in real time, not in 10 minutes, not in like 1 hour, not in a week, but in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cool thing is that it doesn't matter if your team is a small team or a big team. Shed
Yeah,
work will work for both type of companies. So this is
absolutely.
really good.
Absolutely. And there is also something else that it's worth mentioning is like lots of specific permissions we have built.
Yep.
If you have a larger team, that you don't want them, for example, to change the quoting template. You don't want them to see all of your pricing, like intelligence, like all of the behind the scenes, as I like to say, the pricing calculations and pricing database. You can lock those permissions so your sales team won't be able to access those files specifically, but they can still quote sheds. They can still add
Yep.
inclusions, add a discount if they are allowed to do that. So all of these can be customizable within the Shedmate environment. And coming back to what you mentioned about this industry here, we have the people using spreadsheets, and have those who move to a chat software. Lots of different chat softwares in the market, but most of them, they lock you in not only to their suppliers, to their way of operations, but also if you need to make modifications in pricing, you need to talk to the development team. Sometimes that just drags along, and
Yeah.
it's not effective. And that's why a lot of those people, they come to Shedmate. It's like, oh, it's awesome because although it feels like a little bit harder to set up and the first time that you see it, in 1 week I could already see that changed my game because now I have full control over my business. It's my business, not someone else's. So I can put my pricing for erection, my pricing for concreting, my pricing for engineering fees, my pricing for council approval fees, and all of that can be set up within the system by you, not us. Like, you don't need to get Shedmate involved. You, as a Shedmate customer, you do all of that yourself, and you can set up whatever you want there, which is it's awesome because it gives you control over your business. And that's what we want. We're here to work for you. We're not tied to any big manufacturer out there, manufacturing facility, or these big brands. We're a totally independent company, and our goal here is to work with you so your business can thrive.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. It's about that.
Good.
Good. Good.
Should we
Good.
keep moving, Renato? Is it time for me to share my screen, show a little bit more of the system?
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that you can
Hello?
explain how to. Oh, sorry. I was muted. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I believe that we can start. Maybe you can just let us know how pricing works in Shedmate, and maybe you can show us an example of a shed of the pricing changing as you mentioned. Yeah, the real time quoting. I believe that this will be really good to our viewers. Check this on real time.
Just a second, because my Mac is giving me
Yeah, no
problems.
problem.
It's not allowing me. Guess what? It's not allowing me to share my screen.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, no problem.
Murphy's law, right? If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. I mentioned to you before we started. It's like, hey, I'm overseas. I'm on the Mac. It's the first time I'm doing live on it, and guess what? It's already giving me issues here, which is annoying. So let me.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I would just remember that in the last live we could show a little bit how is the setup for
Mhm.
our instant quoting, just so our clients know that if they want, they can watch the previous live. And I mentioned about the layout of the instant quoting, of what's the meaning of each section, what's the difference between that sections. I believe that Arthur can explain a little bit today, but if you still have any questions about the layout and the reason of this design, you can check the last live, and you
Yeah.
will have an explanation about this as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was a really cool time to let our clients and prospects know about our
Okay,
layout.
Renato, it's telling me here that I need to restart my Teams, so I have to leave and come back. So I hope it's not gonna bother. I'll be back
Yeah, no
quickly.
problem.
Just
No problem.
yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
Uh, let's see if it's gonna work now.
Yep, I will be here. Okay, guys, we are just having some issues in the live, but Arthur will come back soon. Okay, so yeah, as we mentioned, today we will have an overview of how our instant quoting works, and it will be a really cool example because we will be able to show to present to you a project. And yeah, Arthur is here again, so
I am back. Let's see if it works now.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it will.
cool.
Yeah, it's all about security stuff.
Yeah, no
On my
problem.
Mac. So good. Let me know if you can see my screen, and then we can go from here.
Yeah, it's so good.
Awesome. So I'll start here on the Shedmate Designer. Like, this live is for existing customers, so you're already familiar with it. We do have some different segments of customers. If you already own a Shed business, I'll tell you how not to set this up, and I'll tell you how to set up. And
Cool.
if you are new to Shed business, we do have some customers that are starting a Shed business, for example, so they don't have any previous quotes to compare, for example, when they're setting up a new system. So I'll tell you, what to do as well. So to start, would like to comment on the benefits of using the system. So we discussed about those challenges, like underquoted jobs, missing components, incorrect materials, low quote turnaround times, inconsistent pricing between team members, and dependency on the founder, which for me was the main motivator of moving to a system like Shedmate when we were in our Shed business previously, because you become very dependent in that business if you were the one owning all of that knowledge in terms of quoting. It's very hard to delegate. So when you build the engine, that's what we're going to see here. That's what we call in Shedmate instant quoting, right? So the instant quoting is a system that, as Renato already explained in other events, it shares a few different things to combine here. The pricing database, which is the list of materials, that pretty much that's how much you pay for your suppliers, right? So
Yep.
like train deck cladding, for example, like 42 BMT, like base material thickness, like it's $14.5. All right. Every company will have different pricing. Some will be 17, some will be 12. Some will roll their own materials, so they have a better pricing. And then you have the supplier here. That could be yourself or someone that you buy. We have the pricing calculation. It's pretty much, if you look at like trim deck, just talking about the same thing. That's how you're gonna configure the calculation for that cladding in Shedmate, and how Shedmate's gonna identify those items in the model. So this is what I mentioned about BIM beating Excel every day. It's like coming here, clicking, and you can inspect exactly what's calculating for you. So this would be a simple calculation in Excel because it's mostly area and volume. But when you start adding openings here, when you start changing the cladding layout, the way it's distributed, that's when things starts to become more complex. And here's even like an example of Vermicil that's using those walls to quantify it. And if I actually go here to price sort by price total, we can see like different items like top hats and how they're calculated. We can see here like C frames. So now we can not only quote as we do in Excel, but we can also unify that with the BIM model so we can inspect what's being quoted. And by doing this, Shedmate will alert us if there is any item, like physical item in the model that's not being quantified. And it's going to tell your sales team and even block them from issuing the quote, saying, "Hey, you cannot, issue that quote because guess what? We have some missing items." It could be a sectional door that you don't have a pricing in your database. As soon as you add that sectional door to the project, Shedmate is going to tell you, "Hey, stop! You're going to find that sectional door price, or you need to change that sectional door to something else that you can have pricing to quote." So that's a way for you to build that consistency and build that engine that's going to check for those mistakes before they happen, raising your profitability. If you go to our Shedmate website, you can see that the first shedmate.com.au, you can see that the first wording there that we share is W shed sales profitably without new hires or franchising streams. So you are pretty much owning that process. It's your business, not someone else's. And the profitability is being increased by all of those systems that we build on purpose to actually block errors from happening. Okay? Now that's making sense. And then what's the outcome? What's the benefit of this? It protects your margins. It maintains that consistency. It reduces the estimating mistakes, and it scales your sales process. As Renato mentioned before, no matter if you have one salesperson or 20, as we have in some companies in Shedmate, if you have 20 people, 20 salespeople using Shedmate for one specific company, you can unify all of that process in the same way. So the owners can have more peace of mind in scaling their business. That's what we're here for. Okay. Any questions, Renato? Can I keep moving in this speed? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I just want to mention that we can see that how Shadowmate is user friendly, like the UI, and sometimes the spreadsheet has a lot of different formatting, and it's not really good to see and to identify a mistake, an error,
Yes.
and you can see that Shedmate has some colorful labels that helps a lot to identify what's what and where's the mistake. We can see that we have like as an example green numbers to say that something is being quantified, and another color to not quantify it. Like it's a dynamic spreadsheet, and it's not that one that we have in our computer, aesthetic dynamic aesthetic spreadsheet.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
is something
And it's
really
cloud.
really cool. Yeah.
It's in the cloud, so anyone can access this, no matter if they're in Bali traveling with their family or they're in the office. So that gives that peace of mind as well,
Yeah.
because you were traveling, but customer calls, and then you can still open your computer or even your phone and open that specific project and get all of the information you need, like export a quote, another updated quote. You can export architecture plans, site plans, all of that on the go. So that's the other main benefit of using a system like this. It doesn't need to be installed in your computer. You can access it from
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. So good. So I'll comment here, like first, how not to do it. So when you have a new customer that joins Shedmate, sometimes because they have previously done that with other Shed software, they have this tendency to say, "Hey, I need to upload my pricing files to Shedmate, and I'll only go live once everything is like 100%." So they want to get like all of their pricing in Shedmate. They want to make it like perfect, and then that's when they start thinking about building their shed presets, adding Shedmate to their website to get new leads. and sometimes they delay the implementation a lot because of that mindset. So we notice that behavior repeats across the different states.
Yep.
And this is what we say is, if you do this, you're going to delay a lot the return on investment. And we're business people, so we're here to kind of think not only about the feasibility, like the technical feasibility of the system, but also the viability, like when that to start producing money for us. So what we do is we shift again. So if you open our GPS, which is the step-by-step implementation onboarding process that you follow once you open Shedmate, you're going to see that we don't start with pricing. We start with your Shed presets, with your company configuration, so we can understand what suppliers you use in terms of, for example, if you use B&D doors or steel line or glider or Tarian, like you name it, they're all going to have different ranges. And this needs to be set up to Shedmate, but I think the first step is add this to your website, so you can start getting more inquiries, and you can still quote in the same process you're doing it before, but now with Shedmate getting those new inquiries through your website through a 3D online designer. And then if you have an established business, once you finalize that part, I would say that when you come to quoting, the wrong way to do it is try to come here to pricing database, add the price for everything. Like we have a long list here. Like we have claddings, we have like connections, we have like doors, and we have companies in Shedmate now with more than 3,000 different door ranges. So if you are stuck configuring all of the 3,000 door ranges, you're not gonna move forward. So Shedmate can get to that level of precision, like get all of the different ranges and have the pricing for each one of them, but you don't have to do that on day one, right? So our recommendation here is don't try to do everything at once. I would say the best way to do it is get 5 or 10 quotes that you have done in the past, and then come here to Shedmate, do the same design, and try to match around 90% of the pricing. And why do I say 90%? Because you're not going to get 100. Why is that? Because you're not using Shedmate to quantify to quote those projects before, so they might not be as accurate in terms of the material precision. As we mentioned here, we have a BIM model that can quantify items in a very specific way. That's very, very good. For example, we have here all of the top hats. We have 42. We have 350 linear meters of top hats. And here we have the breakdown, like there on the sidewall girds, we have 8 with 8 to 55. We have the purlins. So Shedmate is really, really precise. So you're not gonna match 100%. That's one thing that I would like to say in the first time, because sometimes, specifically people who are more technical, engineers, and I raise my hand because we are in that situation right now as engineers. Sometimes we try to be very technical, but look, this is going to delay a lot of implementation. What you need to do is be practical, so you can keep the ball rolling and launch this to the market, so you can start making more money, right? Yeah. So what I would recommend, if I'm doing that again, first thing that I would do is I would get 5 quotes, and I'll try to match those 5 quotes in the best way possible and see what's being very different. And then another recommendation that I give is go to our little bubble here on your Shedmate, and you can help open the help center, so all customers have access to it, and just search for the ABC curve, right? So we have here, this is part of our instant quoting course, and the ABC curve, I think we have here the file to download. I'm just checking if I added it here. Yeah, we have this PDF file that we do. So the ABC curve pretty much shows us that we have different products in our pricing. And these products, they are the sum of cladding, frames, purling bolts, gutters, everything, right? We have the A products that are 20% of the products that represent 80% of the Shedkey price. And we have the B products. These are the 10% of products, from 20 to 30, that represent here from 80 to 90%, so 10% of the pricing. And have the C products, which all of them combined is only 10% of the shed kit price. So my appeal here is don't try to be so specific about your purling bolt pricing, or your gutter kind of tax, or your downpipe pots, or sometimes people are very concerned about those minor things, but that's not going to move the needle for their business. So if you look at the ABC curve here, we have lots of items, and we have some items in the category A, which is high impact. So this is where I'll be focusing my attention. We're talking here about the wall and roof iron cladding. We're talking about portal frames, portling girts, and all the structural frames and members. Labor, like installation, welding, concrete and foundations, large fixtures like doors, windows, roller doors, and insulation. If you work on those items, which shouldn't take a long time because it's not a massive amount of items, you get 80% of your shed pricing done in a really accurate way. And what some people have done in the past is, okay, let's set up the 80%, which is just this small amount of items, and then I'll put a 20% extra markup to cover for the rest for now.
Yeah.
So that's a way to do it if you want. Does it work? Yes, it does. Is it the only way? No, it's not the only way. But if you want to get up and running quick, this is what I would do, because you're only gonna refine your pricing, specifically if your business just is starting up on pricing. If you start iterating, if you start getting different types of sheds, and then you're gonna get more and more refinement as you evolve. And if you're trying to do all of that evolvement on day one, you're gonna get stuck. And then you're always going to go to your existing system. You're not going to make the transition. And then you're going to spend like 4 months, and it's still not going to be up and running with your pricing part. So this is, I would say, the biggest mistake I've seen across the different states and different companies, be it larger companies or smaller companies. This happens a lot and delays the implementation when you could actually, get some cost engineering principles like the ABC curve here, set what matters, and then refine the rest as you go. And I will restate something I always mention when I start talking about this methodology here. I'm not inviting you to be lazy. I am just saying that you shouldn't be doing the category B and C items on day one. Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do them. You should do everything, but not on day one. As you evolve, as you start selling more shares, I think as your business is thriving, that's when you start getting that refinement, so you can get an even more accurate pricing to publish. Is it making sense, Renato? I'd like to hear your thoughts. If, I was explaining this in a good way or not.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, this method. I didn't know before Shedmate, before know these articles about Shedmate, and it's really good because like the C components, we have lots of them, lots. And as you said, if you try to set up these in the first days, you will take a lot of time just doing that, and you lose time. And as you said, like a lot of components, and usually these items are in stock, so you can't pick up because they are there. But like another components that's more important and more expensive, sometimes you have some on stock, but sometimes you have to order as well. So this is really the method that you may follow, that you have to. It's not have to, but we recommend you is just to focus on components A first, and then B and C.
Yes, and it's all part of the instant quoting pricing that you as a Shedmate customer, you already have access to it, right? As I said, just go to your main tab, open the little bubble there, and have the help article, and all of the courses are there. So we have a lot more details. If you watch the videos, there are more details, but I wanted to cover the principle here because I think it's very important. I see a lot of people missing it, especially on the one-to-one onboarding meetings. When they're talking to customers, we can see that sometimes they're trying to do something that, hey, look, it's not going to create a lot of return on investment for you. And I can show you it here. For example, if you get any shed, I just opened the instant quoting on this shed, and you sort by price total. This is exactly what we're discussing there. We have these items here, and you can see those items, they represent most of the shed. We're talking about concrete slab, erection, top hats, iron cladding, trim deck iron cladding, reinforcement meshes, C250, concrete for footings, engineering, haunch bracket. So like if you keep scrolling down, we can see that there are many items here that if you sum all of them, that's not going to create like a massive impact on our shed. So talking about $6 for downpipe elbows, or $18.9 for purling bolts, or $20 to get accessories. Like, not saying they're not important, but when you're quoting, when you're trying to get the system up and running, it's very important that you have agility, and then you can test it faster. And the ABC curve helps a lot with that mindset. Okay, so I plan on continuing showing kind of a reverse engineering of the pricing and what we should be focusing on when setting up your pricing for the first time on Shedmate. Can I proceed, Renato?
Yeah. This will be really interesting.
Yeah, so as I said, how not to do it. Don't try to upload every single one of your pricing, every single detail. Try to focus on what matters. And then what you can do, if you are an existing chat business, get your previous 5 quotes. Maybe print them and get those projects in and say, okay, now I'm going to create 5 projects in Shedmate. I'm going to design my sheds. And that should take you, 5 minutes for each. I'm going to design those 5 projects, and I'm going to run with the master template. So the master template, once you sign up to Shedmate, or as you know, as an existing customer, it's a template that we have built for you. So instead of having to do every single one of the pricing database and pricing calculation that's fully customizable, you can create as much as you want here. We have already done that for you. So you have like 95% of the pathway right for you. But you need to fine tune it because every shared business is different, right?
Yeah.
So this is the master plan template here. So it's already contains a lot of formulas and pricing databases for many items. And we have used these in real shed businesses that were selling sheds. And if I go here to my pricing database, you can see, for example, in my cladding that I have a pricing there like 14.5. This pricing is not too much away from reality. But obviously, you have recent price increases, and as I said, some companies will roll their own materials. So it's important that for you to actually come here and update that pricing. But the way I would do it first is I will start on pricing calculations. This is where you can see a list of every single calculation that quantifies your whole $51,000 for this specific drive-through shed that we're seeing here. And then you can go to groups. So this is the starting point, I would say. Like, go to groups. And the groups are pretty much the breakdown divided in specific categories. So we're talking about the breakdown here of every single item that quantifies your shed, like brackets or wall bracing, everything. And the groups just puts them together. For example, shed materials. If you're doing RHSs or fabrication, right? RHS and fabrication, delivery costs, concreting, cold form brackets, engineering or erection fees. So on the groups, you can set up your markups, and here you're using a variable that's 25 for everything, but you don't need to use that variable, right? I can unlink that variable and say, hey, my markup for my shed material, it's gonna be like 30%. So as soon as I add the 3 here, have a look on what happens on my markup value and my total price. So I add 3. So now I have my base price, that's $15.5 thousand. I have my markup on top of the shared materials. I have the taxes. We're using here 10% of GST. And I have a discount value. We're not having any discount on this one, but if we were to add a discount on the sales system, this is where it comes from. And then I have the total price with no tax and the total price here. So when you sum all of those items, that's when you have the $52,000. That's the price we give to the customer as a quote. Okay, so updating your markup here and refining your groups, I think is the starting point. So you can start having clarity about what you're getting. Those groups here, you can edit those. Okay, so the easiest way to edit is coming back to main. And here on the groups, you can change any of the pricing calculations there and just put another group to it. As I said, we have done a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but you can come here and change that. So if you want to name this like shed material kit or whatever, so you can do that, and that's gonna update that group there for you. Okay. Let me just reload the database. I don't want to make lots of mistakes there. We have lots of formulas and stuff.
Yeah.
It's getting more advanced. But this can be customizable. And if you're having challenges here, it's a good thing to bring to the one-to-one meetings with us. I don't want to go into details on this, otherwise we're not going to finish this 1 hour live here and Renato on time. But you know, this here is fully customizable. We can add new groups, you can remove groups. There's so much you can do. So after you inspect your markup taxes and on the groups, I would go on the price calculation, sort from the most expensive to the least expensive item. And here's when you can start comparing to your Excel spreadsheet or the systems you used to quote before. For example, you could actually filter things here. So where the group is equals to concrete. So for example, now it's listing everything in concrete, right?
Yeah.
So I can start, you know, using these filters to actually, you know, like price totals, maybe greater than like 0. So this is where I have a concrete. So for this shed, we including concrete for slabs, reinforcement mesh, and concrete for footings. And I can click here and I can see exactly where they're coming from, the cubic meter and everything. By using these filters here, you can start, you know, getting those specific sessions of the most expensive items, and you know, start checking how Shedmate is quantifying them. And a lot of the times, I have customers that they get surprised because they, for example, their concrete might not be exactly the same as Shedmate is giving here, but then they realize they're not quantifying the best way possible. For example, it's very common for people to quantify concrete in square meters. But guess what? You don't buy concrete in square meters, you buy concrete in cubic meters. So you only is quantifying in square meters because quantifying cubic meters could be much harder in Excel, right? Specifically when you're adding footings, you're adding so many things together. But now in Shedmate, you can actually quantify in the same way that you're actually ordering those materials. So I highly recommend, if you're quantifying concrete, to do that in cubic meters because it's going to be more precise. You can still quantify your, let's say, concreting labor in square meter. That's fine. Shedmate allows you to do it in any way or form you want. But for the materials, that's how you can do it. And then you can come here, for example, and check, hey, the concrete for footings here is like 3.76. So the quantification is right, but my price per unit is different. Okay, good. When you start picking that up, that's when you can come back to your pricing database. And here's where you can start changing those values. So best way to do it is exporting this list to Excel. And then once you export this to Excel, I'll just, you know, export to my downloads here. Then you can open it. It's probably going to open on numbers. Let's see. First time using this Mac, by the way, Renato. So hope
No
that
problem.
works well. But then you export this list to Excel, and then you can start bringing your price into it. I personally like to do the pricing database in Excel directly because I like colors, right? I like to go there and say, okay, everything that I have updated, I'll just change that to green, for example, and then I can do that. It's just a way I like to do it. But you can do it directly here on Shedmate. So if you're talking about concrete, so I can just search here, concrete. That's just that example we're going through. So we have here different like MPAs. So you don't need anymore to have like concrete 20 MPA square meter, concrete 25 MPA square meter, concrete. No, it's just like concrete 20 MPA, and that will apply for different calculations. That's why we have the pricing database and the pricing calculations, right? The database is how much you pay for that cubic meter of concrete, but the calculation is the different items that are using the same price. For example, we have concrete for aprons, we have concrete for footings, we have concrete for slabs. And then this is what like combined will give you, you know, the final pricing. In this example here that we loaded, we have the slab and we have 14 items for our footing. So I hope it's making sense. We have our total price here on the pricing calculation. The total price includes a lot of different groups that you can organize. Those groups, they're all here, and they can be a shed material, they can be like brackets, they can be concreting, they can be erection. And the way they're calculated is based on a specific pricing database. Okay, so recommendation once again is export this pricing database to Excel. And by the way, let me see if I can open this now. Double clicking on it, and I don't think it's numbers. Well, it's not opening here. Yeah, I don't know why it's not opening, Renato, but like you're gonna get an Excel spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
So you get that Excel, and then you can make modification to your pricing if you don't want to make it directly here, as I'm doing like now, doing this like 17, and I could like save this quoting or save this database. And then once you save your new pricing, you can just upload it to Shedmate. Shedmate's gonna, show the difference in pricing. Say, hey, for example, the new iron cladding is now 10% more expensive based on what you uploaded from Excel. So it's very smart the way it does it. Give it a go. You can import in Excel. But once you import that Excel and your pricing database is correct, then what I would do is I would go back to my pricing calculation. I would check each of those items here, see if it's matching the way you calculate things for your business. And if it's not matching, then you can modify how it's quantifying. And here is another video that we have on our instant quoting pricing that you can just follow through and you can learn how to do it. I highly recommend you going to the course, and I have here, for example, now Shedmate help desk. We have setting up Shedmate costing, and have a course that includes like an introduction to cost engineering, the like WBS estimating methods, the ABC curve. We show how to create a pricing database from scratch, like from zero. I have no pricing database or pricing calculation, and I do that one by one. But this is just so you can learn how to multiply before you start using the calculator, right? And the calculator is this part here, fast tracking. That's when you have an overview of the master template that we provide for you. This is the master template here that contains all of those calculations. And then once you understand the master template, you have here suggested step by step to set up your pricing for quotation, how to update your pricing list from Excel, even if you have a price rise, and how you can understand like the different categories of items that are being quantified in Shedmate, like structure frames, cladding category, concrete and labor and installation. So if you're just starting, you might look at all of this and say, oh, it might be too much. And it is too much. It's generally the first impression. But I invite you to spend like 2 hours on it. Like watch those 2 hours, watch those courses, try to play with it. And you're going to very soon understand that the system is not that complex once you understand how it works. And the system is extremely powerful in giving you full control. So with that full control, you can actually do anything. And that's when that light bulb moment happens and our customers get back to us and say, wow, now I can quantify my sheds, not someone else's. I can actually do whatever I want there. And if you're stuck for any reason, just reach out to the sales team, to the support team. Renato and the team will be there. And they'll probably book one of the one-to-one meetings. That's going to be with me or Tiago or one of our senior leaders. And we're going to help you to unblock and unlock the challenge you're facing. But you gotta put the effort in the beginning to actually set this system. Because coming back to what I was discussing in the beginning, this is you building the engine that's gonna work for you. And once this is done, guess what? Extremely simple. Like I can go to any other shed and I can just apply that, and that's gonna apply my pricing in real time. So if I open, for example, there's a different shed there, right? I can open my instant quoting, and I can just go here and say, hey, I want to load the database. Oh, I'm gonna load that specific database that we did, and you can see here that Shedmate's now gonna calculate that shed for me in real time, and now I have a shed that's $26,900. And once again, I have the price total, and I have here what's being included in the shed. So my recommendation, once again, just covering this verbally again, is like get 5 quotes that you have done in the past, try to match to Shedmate, see what's different. It could be your pricing calculation group markup value. It could be the specific pricing calculation for one of those items, going from the more expensive to the least expensive one. It could be because your Excel spreadsheet is broken. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people are setting up Shedmate, they realize, oh wow, the Shedmate, so my Excel was actually not calculating this as it should. That happens a lot. And as I said, Shedmate will beat these spreadsheets all the time because of the BIM interface. You're linking a 3D model that's smart with your pricing. Your Excel spreadsheet doesn't do that. Okay? And you can actually see the breakdown of every single one of those items as well here when you click on this little drop down icon. So for corrugated iron cladding, it's going to show the end wall. Bullet door header claddings, like the side wall. If you do the same for the top heads, it's going to show the end wall girds, purlins. And if you do the same for, let me see here, reinforcement mesh, we're going to have one, but C-frame, I have like columns and rafters, and you can click here and see where these items have been coming from. So this is where you're going to be playing with this system. And I'll tell you something, if you do this right, and I generally advise the owner of the business or the manager of the business to do this because they're going to understand their profitability better. They're going to understand where, how much they're paying for each one of those items, and they're going to have much more insights than if you just delegate this to someone and say, "Yep, set this up." Okay. So once you do it, once you set this up, then you have that engine working for you. You can just replicate, apply to any shed you like, and then you're going to have the exact same outcomes. And that's when those problems we discussed in the beginning, Renato, they start to fade away. You're not going to have underquoted jobs anymore. You're not going to have missing components. You're not going to have incorrect material quantities. Your quote turnaround time is going to be instant, not 1 week or 8 hours for quote. You're not going to have inconsistent pricing between different team members because they're all going to be quoting using the same system. So when they come here to the 3D designer, so if it's a salesperson, they can just come here and say run pricing, and they're going to set up, like, select that pricing database the costing database you selected. And then once they do it, then they have their final pricing. They don't need to see all of the project breakdown of the components, but they can, from here, export those, the quotation for their customers. They can include here, for example, a specific discount, like, hey, I want to include a 5% discount for the shed, and then it's going to apply on the total pricing. They can remove erection, for example. Hey, don't include erection. And all of those items for erection, they go away. So once you set this up, then your business is scalable. And then you can go to market strong. You can sell those sheds, and you can double your shed sales profitably without new hires or franchising strengths.
Yeah, cool. It's really cool. Just I think that two things that I want to comment. The first one is that, like, we can see that we have control of the pricing, right? So it will
Full
help
control.
it will help you to negotiate with a client. So you can ring to a client and, hey, if you sign your quote today, I will give you 5% discount in your concrete. So, and you know how much will be this, and you can negotiate better with the client about discounts and about some things like that. And the second thing is that it's something that you can teach someone to do, like the quoting, because we had a client in the past that he have never in a vacation because he was the only one that know how to quote in the company.
Yes.
So, like,
So common.
yeah, and if you can imagine, if you can teach someone to use the instant quoting, but if you are overseas, you can also from there check the quotings that are being prepared. So this is something that it's not just like the profit itself, but is something peace of mind, like to the
Yes.
owner, to the team, and this is something that Shedmate can bring as well, not just the profit
Yes.
and the numbers, but your peace of
Some
mind.
of some of these guys here in the back, they're actually doing that, right? You just mentioned they're kind of overseas running quotes, and
Yeah,
and someone can just check on the other side of the world, and that comes back to scalability that you mentioned. Like, it's really good. Once you have that in place, then you can delegate easier. Sorry, you can delegate much easier, and you can grow your business. You can focus on getting that a relationship. You can be on the phone with the customer. You can iterate with them. You can propose better services that when you just start getting those quotes out of the way, you don't have the time to do that. So that's another great positive return on investment on a system like Shedmate. It's not only everything we shared here, but also having more time left, so you can refine your business or spend more time with your family or whatever you want to do with your time. So that's for me, it's one of the most important things that
Yeah.
you can get with a system like this.
Yeah, basically it's that. So thanks, Arthur. I believe that we cover everything that we planned. And
Mhm.
I believe that we can wrap up, right? So
Yes. Just
if you
some
have,
final comment, Renato,
yeah,
before we wrap up. Just for existing customers, so obviously the instant quoting can be extremely simple. As I said there, get 5 quotes, focus on the groups, focus on the uploading or pricing, but there's so much else you can do in advance to it. You have customers who refine this like for years and just get better and better. So I highly recommend to invest time on the instant quoting course.
yeah,
It's there, it's on your GPS as well. You don't need to watch all of the lessons if you don't want to, but I highly recommend doing it because you're going to get a better understanding about cost engineering, and you're going to be able to create a more scalable pricing database that, as your company is growing, it can grow with you. The same applies for structural steel sheds. We haven't covered here, but the pricing
yeah,
calculations, and we have a pricing database for structural steel shed customers that includes like galvanizing costs, galvanizing delivery costs, because you're going to ship that material to be galvanized and back. Specific erection fee. So every business will be different, and what we showing to you in our pricing calculations is not only what is possible, but that's just a template we created for you to speed up your game. But you can create any calculation you can think of, just like you could in Excel, but now using all of the 3D geometry and variables of your shed, the shed design that you're doing in real time. And then as you're modifying that shed in real time, you can see the pricing updating, and you can show that to the customer saying, okay, instead of using this roller door, let's change the sectional door, and now it's like $2,000 more expensive, blah blah blah. And all this is possible with this system, but you gotta build that engine first.
yeah,
And if you spend time and dedicate time to do it, I'm sure you're gonna get amazing return on investment. That's what happens to all customers who spend the time to do it. If you just starting Shedmate and you think, I'm gonna get like my less capable person to do this implementation, like an intern.
yeah,
So yep, you're gonna do the Shedmate implementation. I can tell you straight away, it's not gonna happen because they're gonna need all of those technical answers. They need to understand how you want your business profitability to be formed. So that requires a little bit of the senior leaders to be involved as well. They don't need to do everything. And by the way, there's a lot we can do with artificial intelligence as well, like to help you set up your pricing. But it's important for you to put the time, because once you understand how it works and you set it up first, then you're not dependent. I have a phrase I really like about a mentor of myself, that he says, when you learn, you don't depend.
yeah.
It's better in Portuguese because it rhymes, but I'm just translating it here. It's like, when you learn, you don't depend. So pretty much when you learn how to use a system like this, you don't depend on anyone. You need to make a change, you go there and you do it in like 5 minutes, and you keep growing your business. So yeah, I just want to make those final comments, but
Yeah,
I'll let you wrap up.
yeah. It's really good to know your experience of dealing with these with the shed business, right? So yeah, I believe that we covered everything. So thank everyone for joining us today. Next week we will come back with new things to show you. And yeah, I hope that you liked it. If you have any questions, you can comment in this live, in this video. It will be saved in our YouTube. And if you have any questions about pricing, about our subscriptions, you can send an email to sales@shedmate.com.au and we will be happy to reply. And yeah, basically this. Thanks guys, thanks Arthur for your time, and we will see next week. Okay, so have a great day and see you soon.